All right, today our missing rings spotlight, and these guys are near and dear to my heart, and I'm going to keep them all together lumped in as one. But today's player spotlight with missing rings: Eric Allen, Reggie White, Seth Joyner, Clyde Simmons, and Jerome Brown. Probably the best guys on that gang green defense. You have two Hall of Famers with Eric Allen and Reggie White. You have Seth Joyner, who probably should be in the Hall of Fame and likely will be the next big push to get in. You have Clyde Simmons, who's an Eagles legend, who's just on that next level of Hall of Very Good, top three in Eagles all time in sacks. And of course, Jerome Brown, whose career ended way too soon and was well on his way to becoming a Hall of Famer and likely one of the best players in league history. But 1991, I talk about it all the time. To me, there's no debate. That is the best defense ever put together. And this year's Eagles defense was pretty damn good. I don't think they hold a candle to that Eagles 91 defense. And that is not a disrespect to this year's Eagles team. It's just, and I might be wearing Kelly Green tinted glasses for this one. And that's okay. But I think that, to me, hands down, I will put that defense up against any defense in the history of the NFL. And I like my chances there. But that team, that core group of Eric Allen, Reggie White, Joyner, Simmons, and Brown, they had probably two legitimate, realistic shots to win a Super Bowl. The first came in 1988, and that was the Fog Bowl. I still feel as though if the fog didn't come in, the way that they were kind of just able to move the ball, I feel like they would have just kind of poured it on and ran away from the Bears in the second half. But we know the fog came in. And of all the 49ers teams in the 80s, I think that 1988 49ers team was probably not the strongest of the bunch. So what the Eagles, especially if they had the momentum going out there after beating the Bears, I think they would have gone out to San Francisco and beaten them. And at the time, basically, if you were an NFC team going to the Super Bowl, it was a foregone conclusion that you were going to win, just because during the 80s, there was just an era of dominance between the NFC and the AFC. So I think they would have beaten the Bengals in the Super Bowl as well. But the fog really screwed that up, and it's one that still gets me today. And then the other one was that 1991 team. And everybody says, oh, well, that defense was only good because they had to be. And I think you take the opposite approach with that. Could you imagine how good that defense could have been if they didn't have to be? And you look at the Eagles' defenses in 2017 when they won the Super Bowl and 2022 when they lost to the Chiefs. They weren't the best defenses. Yes, the 22 team would get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, but again, they always played with big leads. Same thing with 17. Could you imagine, like this 91 team, they were in a ton of close games. So yes, the pressure was on them, and they, for the most part, were able to rise to the pressure and keep the Eagles, who had crap at quarterback that year. Well, that was the year Randall blew out his knee. They had absolute crap, guys literally off the street playing quarterback, and they were keeping games close. So you imagine if Randall's having a halfway decent year, not even a good year, how good that defense would have been if they would have been allowed to just go after the quarterback. That was the year. And I mean, in 88 or 89 and 90, they had okay shots, but I think 88 and 91, sort of the bookends on that Eagles defense, that was those were the two chances. And it's still amazing to me that they didn't win one. And I still blame Buddy Ryan if he just gave half a damn about offense. And I know everybody loves Buddy Ryan, but I think he ended up, now that we've won a couple Super Bowls and we're able to kind of look back on it more objectively, he cost them. As much as he built up those defense, if he just gave half a damn, they would have been fine. And I know everybody's down on Kotite because he was such a terrible head coach, but I think people sometimes tend to forget that he's the one that turned that offense around. And if it wasn't for Randall blowing out his knee, I think that was the year. But today's missing ring spotlight: Eric Allen, Reggie White, Seth Joyner, Clyde Simmons, and Jerome Brown. The gangrene Eagles defense came close, had some shots in the playoffs, just never were able to get over the top. But yeah, 88 and 91. And let's do a little bit of a bonus question of the day. Which one of those Eagles teams had the best chance to win the Super Bowl?